Whoa! Okay. What is this place? Look at all these terrifying scenes. Why are they all people so still? Guillotines, ruthless murders. I know what I'll be dreaming about tonight. They're all wax models. They're amazingly realistic, aren't they? What do you think, Bruno? Shocked? Wax models? Ah! I read about dead bodies in wax once in a magazine about strange phenomena. Depending on how corpses are kept after death, parts of them can turn to wax, apparently. It's called adipocere? What is that? Okay, thanks for clarifying, Editor Griffin. Stop talking about creepy things like that, Bruno. You're scaring me. Anyway, adipocere, I don't know. What now? I've just remembered something else I read. Another magazine about strange phenomena. There was an old lady, maybe a witch, who used to pour molten wax over corpses and put them on display. None of the exhibits here are real. They're all entirely man-made replicas. They can't be. Do you really expect me to believe that? Just look at them. Oh. There's no way anybody can make models of people that are this realistic. And there are all such gruesome scenes. Really? Wait. What is it? Oh, no. I must be seeing things. What to observe first? I don't know. There seems to be a hand sticking out of here. That might seem important. I guess we'll take a look at Herlock. We'll just ignore that little whatever for the moment. It's the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes has his own wax statue in here? Really? Well, he is a world famous after all. It's an uncanny resemblance, isn't it? It makes my skin crawl to look at it. I know! But look, Bruno, you can kick this Hurley and he doesn't move a muscle. Can't go around kicking the exhibits, Iris. You gotta give him points for trying. Wait. It just moved, I'm sure. And not just a little bit either. Really? Did it? And look closely. There are beads of sweat on the face of this waxwork model. Shall we move on, Iris? Over there, look, there's a great murder scene to enjoy. Much more appealing.
Hold it!
My dear fellow, I take exception to your recoiling in such a manner, as if you've seen something truly abhorrent. Mr. Sholmes, I knew it. Iris, what possessed you? I strictly forbade you from divulging my temporary waxwork secret to Mr. Naruto. Temporary waxwork? What do you mean? And that kick, could you not have exercised a little more restraint? You winded me. But Bruno has something he needs to ask you. Ah, a question. And I thought you'd probably be getting bored, too. So here we are. Well, I can't deny that your timing was impeccable. A mere 2 minutes more being stationary like that. And my great brain, upon which all my success has been built, would have turned to wax. Thank goodness we arrived in time. Indeed, in many ways, the pair of you just saved the world from an unimaginable loss. Oh, Hurley, you do like to talk nonsense, don't you? Get absolutely destroyed. He could know something, it's true, about Lord Van Zeeks and what happened in the past to change him. Now that you're here, let's take our time. How can I be of assistance? For you're in luck. I'm suddenly quite taken with the idea of conversing. Oh, well, actually, I'm in quite a hurry. And if my eyes don't deceive me, I believe something is afoot within the walls of this very museum. A most fascinating case, if I'm not mistaken. Really? Moreover, I have a strong suspicion that is related to the matter about which you've come to me now. But how could it be? We shall speak again presently, my dear fellow. But for now, I must return to my work. What? About to be a temporary waxwork exhibit? Okay, well, let's make some observations then, since he doesn't want to talk to us otherwise. Let's look here. Is this an example of Western Tutshigiri? I don't know what that is. You know, when an unscrupulous samurai randomly attacks a passerby to test his sword? I still don't know, no. But actually, a waxwork samurai would probably be hugely popular. Could you model it, don't you think, Runo? Doing that Tutsugiri thing you mentioned? Well, I do have a sword, but I have no intention of testing how sharp it is on a human subject. For now, at least. Okay, are we developing some murderous tendencies? There's a shoe there. Oh, that's a funny place for a little ladder. Not what I was looking at all, but okay. What is it? Something wrong? No, it's just that in Japanese, we have a totally different word for a ladder that folds in half like that. We do in English too, you know. It's a step ladder, or just steps. So be careful making assumptions about other cultures, Runo. That's how wars are started. Oh my god! I didn't realize stepladders were an international point of contention, but the writer makes an astute point. Yeah, my writer most certainly does, unfortunately. What's these people doing? These models are so well made, I can't tell what's a waxwork and what's a real human. That's how Hurley gets away with making himself a temporary exhibit for the day. Maybe there are other people posing as exhibits in here then. Or maybe all the exhibits are real people. And when it's closing time and all the visitors have gone home, they suddenly start moving about. Ugh. Just thinking about it makes me wish it was closing time already and I was on my way home. Okay, well, nothing to observe there, I suppose. Let's look over here. What is this referencing? I feel like this is a reference. I'm just not sure what. Is this some infamous murderer? Yes. Called Jane the Ripper. Okay. Gender reversal Jack the Ripper. Okay, good on you, game. All her victims were young women. I knew it. You can't tell by the way she's holding that knife. Sure sign of a murderer. Well, yes. Ah! What's the matter, Runo? I've worked it out. I know what she's doing. She's trying to fill that bathtub with blood so she can have a soak in her victim's gore. Not according to the information about the exhibit on the little board here. It doesn't mention anything about the bathtub. Really? So why is it there? Sorry, I don't think it's significant. I still think it has to be there for a reason. That's still fair. Alright, fine. I won't dilly-dally around it anymore. Is this an arm? It looks like an arm, doesn't it? Maybe one of the waxwork models has fallen over. You don't think it could be the work of one of the mass murderers in here, do you? Bruno, stop scaring me. Is it a wax arm or a real one? Come on, you're always pointing that finger of yours in court. Poke that arm now and see how it feels. Objection! Alright, well, we've made observations in here, so why don't we talk to Mr. Sholmes? Or at least try to. What is this place? Madame Tussfells came to London from France 3 years ago, I understand. Since she opened this little waxwork museum last year, it's enjoyed great popularity in London. There are museums like this in Japan too, but these displays are something else. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they? The extreme realism of these waxwork models is a particular secret of the Tussfells family, they say. They earned renown during the French Revolution for waxworks of victims of the guillotine. Ugh, that sounds grim. The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism in the expressions of the faces of the condemned. Apparently, the sculptors would make the models directly from the corpses, right there at the site of the executions. That really turns my stomach. That's just one of several legends about the Tussfells family. Whether there's any truth in it, I couldn't say. But anyway, this museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum by quite some margin is this House of Horrors. House of Horrors? Of course, visitor numbers are dwindling now as a result of the Great Exhibition. But people usually flock here to see the exhibits of some of London's most vile criminals at their gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here were sent to the gallows. So they're even stiffer now than the models of them. Have you heard of poor taste? My dear fellow, the public lives for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked. That's also sadly true. So the hideous exhibits in here are... They're all portrayals of real events that actually took place. Is it just me, or did the temperature in here just seem to drop? Anyway, I advise you not to think too deeply about what you see here. Oh, he's about to be a waxwork, is he? What do you mean by a temporary waxwork, Mr. Sholmes? Exactly what you see. I'm part of the exhibits here, catching these criminals in the act. Catching them? Every half an hour, I home in on a different killer in one of the displays and adopt a new pose to ensnare them. When members of the public come for a closer look, I offer them my hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photograph with us. Us? Does he mean him and the waxwork murderers in here? But why, Mr. Sholmes? My dear fellow, isn't it obvious? For the money! Never let it be said that capitalism reigns supreme in all times. He really roared at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors. As it stands, I may struggle to pay this month's rent, and I have the ravenous heiress to consider. Oh, Hurley, I'm so hungry. If push comes to shove, I shall have to ask you to do your bit, Mr. Naruto. What's he threatening to rope me into now? So, with that in mind, how about a photograph? As a special treat, you may have your pick of the murderers and scoundrels in here. The choice is yours. Maybe some other time. Remember, Mr. Naruto, ignore me at your peril. Why is everyone threatening me today? It's like, forget the Reaper, I'm more worried about everyone else killing me. Back to being a waxwork again? Is it just me, or did his final remark that sound a lot like a curse? Okay, well, I'm not gonna give him a hard time about that work, because it does seem like he is really doing this earnestly to be able to afford, you know, everything he has to afford, so fair enough, I suppose. Well, what is it you'd like to ask me then? Actually, it's about Lord Van Zeeks. Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How did you find him? Well, I trust. And so I filled Mr. Sholmes in about everything I'd learned. About Lord Van Zeeks, about Professor Hairbrain, and about the strange coincidence that they had been at the university together. So I'm wondering what was it that happened to make Lord Van Zeeks such a different person? I was sure that you'd know, Hurley. You said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before, that something was afoot, and that you believed it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Sholmes, he suddenly clammed up. Well, it seems he's reached the unavoidable— Greetings! Oh, God. Oh, hello. Where did she appear from? And what's she wearing? Could she look any more mysterious? I hope you are appreciating my museum. Sorry? Have we... Mr. Sholmes, do you know this? Not again! My apologies. I am Esmeralda Tuspels. This is my museum of waxwork. What? You're the Madame Tuspels? Bien sûr. Though only 26 years young, I might add. This music is so good. Oh my god. Is that significant somehow? I'm a madame in name only. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi. What does that mean, Eder Griffin? Thank you. Right. Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks, or rather, one waxwork in particular. That'll be Mr. Sholmes then. I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, there will be toil and trouble. She sounds deadly serious. That's a problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Sholmes about Lord Van Zeeks now? Let's not forget what Hurley said before. About something being afoot. Right here in the museum, I mean. Yes, I know, but... I'm so curious. I want to know what's happening here. Haven't we got enough on our plate already? Great. Yeah, this episode's 100% going to be a two-parter, in case that hasn't already been made clear to you guys. Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Tuspels? I did. I am the third generation of waxwork artisans, you know. Gosh! It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were checkered, living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution as she did. Though that is when she acquired the savoir-faire that leads to the astonishing likeliness. Or lifelikeness. All these waxworks really do look as though they're alive. In fact, they look more alive than Hurley. What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminal past. All the waxworks were created in the presence of the real people on which they are modeled. in the hours immediately following their executions. That is the secret to their extraordinary likeliness. That sounds terrifying. All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry out one's trade par excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths. My exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see. Ugh. Why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying? Do not fear. Sorry? This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians. Something for every taste, I hope. It was Iris who dragged me straight in here, come to think of it. Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things. Alright, what about the Great Detective Waxwork? What's the situation with that? Ah, my temporary waxwork model? He approached me some days ago, you see, with a business proposal. Oh, what sort of proposal? My dear madam, what these sparse exhibits need is the addition of a world-famous great detective. Or words to that effect. Naturally, I am well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective. It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it. Yes, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to come to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree to terms. Let me guess, someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services? For a mere £500. I will dive into your cauldron of wax this very moment. Or words to that effect. Mr. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch. Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment, due to unforeseen circumstances. So we came to the current arrangement instead. Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing though, does he? I would think not, but he was very insistent. I have 50 shilling problem that must be resolved by the morning. Or words to that effect. It's the pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem. Is the consulting detective not... Oh, is the great consulting detective work not going so well? Okay. I wonder, could I ask you something? Bien sûr. I'm just curious, is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps? Whoever suggested such a thing to you? Oh, well, it was... your temporary Watson over there who mentioned me a little... Oh! He disappeared. A wax model is a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade. Ah! There you are! Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working? Do you wish to be melted down? My dear Madam Tussbells, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It's our ideas about your current problem we must throw to the melting pot instead. Personally, I would advise you not to involve the police. Why ever not? She's turned as white as a sheet. Because you have at your disposal a great detective, whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Though please be aware that I prefer, no, I insist upon payment in advance. Very well. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we? Before I engage my analytical processes, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain? That is the Tuspel special exhibit. There is an extra charge to see it. Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must depict a special killer then, I presume. Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder? Ah, absolute no! There's nothing amiss behind there. Nothing amiss, madam. What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain? Ah! I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond, before the situation worsens. Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtains, but only a soupçon. Or soupçon. I'm not great at French, guys. French is a very hard language to read. I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The Tuspel special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however, is a portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor. Haven't we seen him before? Was he one of the previous jurors in the first game? Well then perhaps, Mr. Sholmes. That man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself. I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He's a perfectly ordinary London gentleman. Not even a waxwork, in fact. What? As skillfully made as these waxworks are, they are always distinguishable from real humans. So, allow me to present my two conclusions. The first is that a sizable business transaction has been taking place in this special exhibit. Why? Why would you say that? And the second is that the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime. Ah! She looks as pale as candle wax. I don't understand. So, Madame Tuspels, as you've agreed to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Let's go! The game is afoot! Waxworks Fate. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Tuspels. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by the public notice. Waxwork for sale, your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer the centerpiece of your special exhibit for the sum of £200. No! Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Ah! Unfortunately, madame, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such shocking blow was, of course, the £200. It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around your little finger most effectively. What What are you suggesting? He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for the sum of 200 pounds. Only when he came to hand the money over did it occur to him what an extortionate amount he was paid. But the money was no longer in his hands. And the result? The scene we see before us. He collapsed in shock. Yes, the killer in the special exhibit fetched a killer price. We can only pray that the gentleman's dreams are not plagued with regret. That's just one. Sold for cash. Waxwork location. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is a young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe the neckerchief, such as worn by policemen as the secret sign to fellow members of the force that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman currently investigating this museum. I know him well, in fact. He's Sergeant John Clay. What are you talking about? This man's quite a celebrity. He received triple accolades in last year's policing awards. What? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching him closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he wore a waxwork. Ah, but you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madame. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe! The telltale sign instantly proves whether or not this old man's a waxwork was an obvious price tag. Threepence? A tragically low price, you might say. Though perhaps the going rate for aging waxwork is riddled with cracks. And yet you sold it to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant 200 pounds. The sort of plucky behavior that's sure to attract the attention of Scotland Yard. Isn't that so, madam? I do not... Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police and remains in their custody as we speak. The old man must be reunited with his grave in the special exhibit, and not a moment too soon. A couple problems with that. Discovered already. I don't think so. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction this horrifying puzzle. I see I've stunned you all into silence. You have, Hurley, you have. And you've obviously upset the young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot. If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the notorious Naruhodo 1 point. I'm all ears, my dear fellow. According to your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So, that would mean that he's a particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Ottermole. Sorry? It was a mysterious series of murders that rattled the capital only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared into the ether. And it turned out the culprit was a policeman himself, a senior officer by the name of Ottermole. So you mean that's who's the sinister-looking old man they're supposed to be? Indeed. It is a particularly grim fate, is it not? Unforgettable, in fact. Yes, I remember that odious countenance only too well. But is 200 pounds a lot of money for a wax model? It would be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages, if that puts things in perspective. So it's quite a lot then. Is there anything else you wish to add? Before I melt you down? That bubbly wax is looking more and more ominous. The smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me. Mr. Sholmes did more or less just accuse her to her face, so I think I might have to call on your assistance here, Iris, if that's alright, to make some minor corrections to the Great Detective's great deductions. Of course it's alright. We'll soon set things straight. Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Tuspel vents her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Tuspels, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Course correction! Hold it, Mr. Sholmes! To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helplessly from your bag. In my estimation, some 200 pounds. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast it would seem, Madame Tuspels. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by the public notice. She definitely looked in this direction, it's true. But I'm not sure she'd sell any of her waxworks, even for 200 pounds. Oh? She must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax. If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything. For that much money, I would, but it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the 200 pounds could have some other significance. Let's follow that furtive glance again and see if there's anything else that could explain it. Ah, note on the wall. What's that note doing pinned on the wall there? Oh yes, let's see. Dear Madame Tuspels, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is 200 pounds. Have the money ready by noon on the 23rd of October. What? It's just the sort of thing left behind when someone is kidnapped. Yes, it's a ransom note. Exactly. Alright, well, it's obviously the ransom note. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that ransom note. Quite so, and we must congratulate these criminals on their inventiveness, abducting a waxwork. Ah! 200 pounds is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it. The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have. In summary then, 200 pounds you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds. So if the waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who this man is? We could just ask him when he comes around. I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris. Yes, you're right. Early's trying so hard, we mustn't let him down. Well, there's a little doubt that he suffered a shock, that much seems clear. But in that case, what's Madame Tuspels trying to hide? Let's have a closer look. Okay. Ah, there's a hand. This is just Madame Tussauds' right hand, isn't it? Yes, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all. Oh, but wait a minute. This is a left hand as well. Look! Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please! And it seems very stiff, too. In fact, it's really hard. You mean... it's made of wax? I assume it has to be the wax for can't. There we go. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow. How could you... The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that, in fact, it's a left hand. Ah! And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madame. It is the hand of a waxwork model. Ah! Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage. So you mean that arm? Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir. No small keepsake. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms. I'm afraid I had to teach the man a lesson. You confronted the man and try to take the arm back. And the result? The scene we see before us. He was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being, we have our conclusion. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit has been kidnapped. Alright, we've worked that out. Sort of. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe then his neckerchief. According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway. A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. It's a secret that closely guarded by Scotland Yard. That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away. Well, uncovering secrets is any true detective's nature, of course. Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tussauds' reaction to Mr. Sholmes' seduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. Okay. I was about to say. What the? The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be. Well that settles that then. Right, this isn't a real person at all. His entire arm's been ripped off from the shoulder down. His arm's been... Of course! That ties into what we just found out.
Take that!
Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his shoulder stub. No such boneless human walks this earth. Of that I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact, defying all odds, a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mrs. Sholmes. He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man. Naturally! What other explanation could there be? And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork. Huh, but you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madame. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe! The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. A killer policeman called Ottermole, was it? Was he well known? It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price though. Threepence isn't much money. Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garrett's delightful lodgings, in fact. So this is a special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? The waxwork somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for 200 pounds. Is this crusty old killer policeman Ottermole? Really? Perhaps we should have a look around again and see if there's another idea that crops up. I definitely read that correctly. There's a scarf on his arm. I don't believe it! It's the secret sign that lets other detectives know some criminal activities underway. Yes, it's a slightly strange choice of outfit if you were trying to go unnoticed. Ah, you must be a detective disguised as a policeman! Or a detective disguised as a waxwork model policeman. He doesn't look like he's clever enough to think of something like that, though. Perhaps you should try to be a little more polite about him, Iris?
Take that!
Nope, that's not it. That's a my mistake. This should have been something very obvious. Okay, I should have really paid close attention to the obvious that his foot is twitching. Look at this! The old man's tapping his foot like crazy. He seems to be fast asleep, though. He's not tapping his foot consciously, then? So you mean... It must be a twitch! Never mind that. The point is, waxworks don't tap their feet. Or twitch. And look at his arm, too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? Okay, well, it's obviously the twitch. There we go. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man's a waxwork is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives, then. And there you have it. Well, Madame Tuspels? Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He is clearly fatigued. He is sound asleep. But then, what's this tag about showing the price of 3 pence? No doubt the price tag of a muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at the local market. And I presume you've observed the scarf tied around his arm? Does that not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway. Of course, because, as you know, there has been just such criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective. So, it would seem that we've finally arrived at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard already investigating. But the model whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Conclusion? Don't know. Solved. I wouldn't say complete, but I mean everything that we can glean from this scene has been observed. All sorts of people visit my museum here, men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway. Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe. It was a pleasure, my dear madam. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted. Yes, tragically, it was. Then I would ask you to recount to us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork. In as much detail as possible, if you please. Very well. But after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work. The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Okay. What's going on? Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please. It was some days ago now, when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that a waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here. It is your most prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed. And I found the ransom note in its place. The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then. So this waxwork that was stolen, it was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose? Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The Professor. Not a name I've heard of. So, Mr. Naruto, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry? The Professor case happened around the time I was born, didn't it? Indeed it did, Iris. 10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital. 10 years ago? Yes, at exactly the time that Bear Van Zeeks graduated from university, in fact. What? Surely he's not saying... So the big event that changed the Reaper's life? As you've surmised, it was the Professor case. Who is the Professor then? Oh my god. We're really getting into it now. It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in terror a decade ago. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death. And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present on account of the abduction. But I don't understand. How is all this related to Lord Van Zeeks? You must first understand, my dear fellow, why it is that the Professor earned such infamy. It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest. What do you mean, Hurley? Those murdered by the Professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracy. Members of the nobility, even royalty, it sent shockwaves to the country's administration. Members of the... Ah! Wait! Of course! What Professor Harebrain said! Lord Van Zeeks is from a family with noble blood! Oh gosh! It was a 5th victim that led to Professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of... Clint Van Zeeks. No! I don't believe it! Van Zeeks?! I'm sure you can piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, the young Barrack pursued a career as a prosecutor. and eventually became the Reaper we know today. I had no idea Lord Van Seeks had such a tragic past. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter. For the time being, at least. After all, I have work to do. As a waxwork exhibit. God bless. I'm afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well. Oh, yes, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me here. It's been too long. It really has. I'm delighted to see you, Barrick. It's been 10 years, and here we are, meeting in a prison of all places. I can't forgive myself for what happened, Mr. Asman. I just can't. I still can't believe it could happen. Tomorrow, the court will decide. Yes. I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident, a terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it. I must warn you. Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuting, aren't you? Yes. Since I've returned to England, I've heard lots of stories. Barrick, are you really... What? Never mind. I know that you have my best interests at heart. My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else. Of course. I fully understand. Thank you, Barrick. Until tomorrow, then. I'll see you in court.
You